There's something I've been thinking about, and maybe you thought about it too, but didn't know how to say it out loud. What happens when you pray for healing and nothing happens? Not once, not twice, but over and over again. You pray, you believe, you hope, and still nothing changes. So naturally, you start asking questions. Why? Did I do something wrong? Is there something I'm missing? Because deep down, we expect it to work almost like a formula: pray plus faith equal healing. But when the outcome doesn't match the expectation, we're left trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. And in those moments, people respond differently. Some walk away, others stay. The ones who walk away may quietly or loudly come to this conclusion: there must not be a God. But the ones who stay, they stay with questions, they stay with pain, they stay without clear answers. And maybe that's where the words of Jesus Christ starts to hit differently. When he said, "Make every effort to enter through the narrow door." I used to think that meant avoiding sin or living a disciplined life. But what if it also means something deeper? What if the narrow door is staying when it would be easier to leave? Because it's easy to believe when everything is working, when prayers are answered, when healing comes, when life makes sense. But what about when it doesn't? What about when the healing doesn't come, the pain stays, and the answers never arrive? That's where the path gets narrow. Now, here's another question that's been on my mind. If if I'm supposed to show the fruit of the spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, etc., but all people can see in me, all they can see in me is grief, would that push them away? Because let's be honest, joy attracts people, peace attracts people, but grief doesn't look attractive. Grief doesn't make people say, "I want that." But what if we've misunderstood something? What if grief and the fruit of the Spirit are not opposite? Because anyone can show joy when life is good. Anyone can appear strong when nothing is wrong. But what about the person who is grieving and still chooses to love, still chooses patience, still refuses to become bitter, still holds on to God, even when they don't understand Him? That kind of faith is different. That's not surface level faith. That's faith that has been tested. The truth is, the truth is, people are not drawn to perfection. They are drawn to something real. And there's nothing more real than someone who says, "I don't understand what God is doing, but I'm not leaving." Even Jesus was described as a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. Yet people were still drawn to him. Why? Because his grief didn't remove his love. His pain didn't cancel his purpose. And in the middle of all of this, a verse comes to mind from book of Jeremiah, chapter 33, verse 3. It says, "Call to me, and I will answer you, and tell you, and even show you great and mighty things, things which has been confined and hidden, which you do not know and understand and cannot distinguish." Maybe the answer isn't always in what God does, but in what He reveals. Because He didn't say, "I will explain everything right away." He said, "I will show you things you do not understand." So maybe the problem is not that God isn't answering, maybe it's that He's answering in ways we are still learning to see. So maybe the question is not, will my grief push people away? Maybe the real question is, what do people see in me while I grieve? Do they see bitterness, hopelessness, or do they see sorrow but still love? Pain but still faith? Questions but still trust? I'll be honest with you. I don't have all the answers. There are moments where I have more questions than I do clarity. Moments where I wonder what I could possibly offer anyone. What could I possibly offer anyone while carrying this kind of grief? But maybe, just maybe, this is the answer. If God healed everyone every single time, there would not there will be no need for faith. Faith is not proven when everything works. Faith is revealed when nothing seems to. So now the question comes back to you. Not about me, not about my grief, but about you. If nothing changed, if the prayer wasn't answered, if the healing didn't come, will you stay or will you walk away? Because that question, that decision, that moment, that's where the narrow door is. And maybe, just maybe, walking through it doesn't mean you have no grief. It means you chose God right in the middle of it. Not because you understood Him, but because you trusted Him.